Well, hi there, good morning, welcome back to Mudwalkers. My name is Chris. As you can see, I felt like making a quieter, more intimate video today. I've been watching some lower key content recently, so I've been feeling relaxed anyway, and autumn has me feeling relaxed, the weather has me feeling relaxed. My upcoming break from YouTube has got me feeling relaxed. Many of you already know that I take the month of December off from making Mudwalkers content to spend more time with my family. This year we've got people coming in from across Louisiana, kinfolk coming from as far as Lake Charles, and then we also have at least one person coming from Washington, D.C. from my family to come down and spend the holidays with us, so I'm very excited about that. So yeah, I'm going to disappear on here for the month of December, but God willing, I will be back. And yeah, just wanting to make a calmer, slower video for you guys today, so hopefully it works. So, anyone who knows me personally knows that I love musical theater. Andrew Lloyd Webber's The Phantom of the Opera and Les Miserables are some of my all-time favorites. Not my very favorite, we're getting to that. But recently, there's been a new musical that has just blown my mind and won its place in my heart, and that is Epic by Jorge Rivera Herranz, or Jorge Rivera Herranz, depending on how he likes it pronounced. I don't know the man personally, but it's fantastic. If you haven't heard Epic yet, it is a musical retelling of the Odyssey by Homer. Just a wonderful story. Now, it changes things here and there, but I actually, since I've been reading the Odyssey recently, listening to the musical got me curious about the Odyssey. Maybe I should go and read this thing. So I went and read it, and it's pretty different from the musical, but there are definitely changes in the musical that I like better than the original. So I applaud Jorge for having the courage to make some good changes. Now, my very favorite musical currently is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Of course, that was a Disney cartoon. Don't let that fool you. It's a very deep, mesmerizing, beautiful story. Emphasis on deep. It's quite deep. I actually think that it's archetypical, or archetypal. It's got archetypes. And we're going to get into a little bit of that today. One of the fun things about such deep symbology is that you can use it in multiple ways, as we will see. You'll also notice that my taste in musical theater is a bit epic. I apologize to my friends who like Newsies and Hairspray. It's not my cup of tea. That's fine. To each his or her own. You know, it's fine that people like that. I just don't. It's like arriving at a restaurant and finding out that someone doesn't like to put butter on her bread. Like, what do you mean you don't put butter on your bread? Butter's like made for bread. But so I'm going to be the oddball. I know that's hard to believe that I would be the oddball. This is what happens in a relaxed video, I suppose, as I ramble a little bit. So let's get into the content. All right. Obviously, if you haven't seen the film or the stage play, and the stage play is way better than the movie, in my opinion. But if you haven't seen those, you can get the full story by listening to the Broadway musical recording thing on Spotify, or I'm sure it's on other music apps, but I use Spotify. So, let's get into some of the characters. The villain Frollo keeps Quasimodo locked away. And, you know, he says it's because he's afraid that if anyone sees Quasimodo, it's going to incite sin and abuse against Quasimodo. Personally, I think this has a lot more to do with Frollo's public image than it does with Quasimodo's welfare. Maybe the book gets into that a bit more, and I've got that completely wrong. There is actually a novel that was the starting point of all this. Before the cartoon even came out, we had the novel, which I have not finished. I read part of the first chapter a while back and haven't gotten back into it. I just started on some of the other things. So, yeah, Frollo says that he's concerned that if anyone sees Quasimodo, it'll incite sin and abuse against Quasimodo. And then, of course, the King of Fools and Topsy Turvy Day all seem to confirm that for Frollo. He seems to be justified at that point. He seems to be proven right by those events. And yet, throughout the story, we see numerous characters soften to Quasimodo and to see him, well, as a human being. We're getting to that, right? They come to see him as a human being, as a person, instead of just this, this monster. And of course, again, if you haven't seen it, go see it, listen to it. But Quasimodo is human. He's just a hunchback. He's ugly, but he's quite human. Let's look at 3 characters in particular and break down their importance to what I have to say about Hunchback and Naturism. Okay, first, obviously, we have Frollo. He's depending on if you're looking at the book or the movie, he has a different role here or there. In the movie, he has quite a religious role. He's the archdeacon, I think they call him. Now, Frollo doesn't clearly. Frollo doesn't like how Quasimodo looks, but he tolerates it. He's not completely horrified by Quasimodo. He gets by. He's comfortable around Quasimodo, even though he hates Quasimodo's appearance. After many years around him, Frollo knows that Quasimodo's basically harmless. I mean, Quasimodo's quite strong, but he's a tender soul. He's a big teddy bear, you might say, and so Frollo knows that Quasimodo's ultimately harmless. In other words, Frollo has grown accustomed to Quasimodo over long-term exposure. We'll get to that. Then we have Phoebus. Phoebus adjusts pretty quickly to Quasimodo. In fact, there's some comic relief toward the end of the play where the two of them are playfully feuding over Esmeralda. It's really cute. I love the way that their friendship kind of rivalry, something like that. Friendly rivalry develops. And yes, again, their rivalry in the play, because the play is way better than the movie. Although you can get by with the movie. Then, of course, third, we have maybe the second most important character in the entire story, which is Esmeralda. Now, Esmeralda's adjustment to Quasimodo, to her credit, is virtually instantaneous. Now, when she first meets Quasimodo, for literally like 1 second, Esmeralda is taken aback by Quasimodo's ugliness. But again, to her credit, she very quickly composes herself and speaks to him very sweetly and politely and caringly. And she invites him up on stage to, take his place as, potentially, if he gets voted in, as the King of Fools for Topsy Turvy Day. I think she expected Quasimodo to be welcomed and to be celebrated and for people to laugh with him and for him to have a good time on stage. That's not how it played out. Ultimately, of course, if you know the story, you know this, Quasimodo ends up getting horribly abused on stage. People throw rotten vegetables at him and they tie him up and they mock him mercilessly. And the entire time, the villain, Frollo, is watching this happen. And he has the power to stop it. Phoebus even asks him, hey, shouldn't I intervene here and stop this? Because Phoebus is the captain of the guard. Like, can't I go and, stop this from happening? And Frollo forbids him from going and intervening. It's interesting that in this scene we get all 3 characters, all 3 key characters besides Quasimodo. We get all 3 of these supporting characters reacting to Quasimodo at the same time. We have Frollo, who despises Quasimodo's appearance. We have Phoebus, who seems to think of Quasimodo's appearance as irrelevant, and we have Esmeralda, who really cares about him, like he's a child. Phoebus is commendable because he immediately wanted to defend Quasimodo. We can't allow this to continue. Please, sir, let me stop this. But then we have Frollo, who refuses to help Frollo. Frollo refuses to help Quasimodo, despite Quasimodo's screams and him asking Frollo to help him, to please save him. And Frollo does nothing. Frollo is Quasimodo's father figure, and despite their relationship, he refuses to help Quasimodo. Frollo is bound by his presuppositions, his conceit, and his cruelty. He's a cruel man. He doesn't like to think of himself that way, but he's very cruel. But it's only Esmeralda who dams it all and runs up to Quasimodo and throws her arms around him and physically intervenes. Frollo hears the cries for help and does nothing. Phoebus hears the cries for help and asks for permission to help. Esmeralda just helps. She just goes in and she does it. And so she ultimately is the reason why Quasimodo is saved from the crowd and is returned to the cathedral. Now, on the surface, Frollo's prediction seems to have come true, that as soon as Quasimodo went out into the world, he was scorned and abused. It's easy to think that on the surface. But there's a problem with that. There's actually two problems with that. There's two problems with that. And that is that Phoebus didn't abuse him. Esmeralda didn't abuse him. It's very interesting. So Frollo's not completely right. Frollo's actually at least partly wrong. We're gonna get into that a little bit more. Yeah, Phoebus doesn't see Quasimodo as a monster. He sees him as a person, as someone who needs help. And so does Esmeralda, but again, Esmeralda actually is the one that goes in and helps him herself. But I think there's an aspect of this that we need to really drive home most of all with this scene. And that is Claude Frollo, the villain, who watches all this unfold. He wields immense political and social power. You might even say moral power in the play. Immense power in Paris. After all, the captain of the guard was at his elbow asking for his permission to disperse the crowd. Frollo's in charge. Out of everyone present, Frollo is really the only one with the political power, with the clout, to really put a stop to this. And he does nothing. And as a prominent moral leader in Paris, I mean, he's the archdeacon of Notre Dame. He's like a really, really important spiritual figure in Paris. So he not only has the political power to put a stop to what's going on in front of him at the moment, he has the moral power and the moral sway to teach these people how to treat Quasimodo. But he doesn't. Instead, Frollo takes Quasimodo back into the cathedral to conceal him and allow the people of Paris to continue to wallow in their prejudices and their ignorance. Frollo refuses to teach these people or to lead by example. Instead, Frollo just hides what he sees as the problem. He sees Quasimodo as the problem. Quasimodo is not the problem. The prejudices of the people are the problem, and Frollo has been put on this earth as their spiritual leader to teach them this kind of thing, but he's not doing it. If you've ever met someone with a facial injury, facial deformity, extensive facial scarring, then you know as well as I do that the bugs are getting me. You know as well as I do that the shock of seeing that kind of face wears off very, very quickly, especially if you're a level-headed, non-hateful person, someone with any ounce of compassion and a sense of common humanity. You're going to see past that really, really fast. I'm going to display some clips here of some of these deformities, which I think is within fair use. The links will be in the description down below. These will be some very extensively damaged faces. But I want you to look. I don't want you to glance at it and go, and then move away. No, I want you to really stop and look for a while. And I want you to look for their humanity. You can do it.
Peel the skin off, which I tell you, sometimes was, actually it was more painful than the site where they put the skin on. See, the burned areas aren't that sensitive because I burned all my nerve endings away. So where they peel that skin off, the graft site, is very painful.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, those nerve endings are on fire at that point. Mm-hmm. Are you able to grow any feeling back where the grafts are?
To this day, not really. I mean, I can feel pressure, but I literally could put a burning pan on my thighs and don't feel it.
When we met Jacqueline 7 weeks after she had been in the hospital, doctors had grafted skin from her buttocks and her forehead to start the process of rebuilding her face.
I feel like I didn't ask for this, so I think that it's time to show who I am now.
So when I first interviewed you, you could open your mouth about 5 millimeters.
Yes.
Now you're up to 21 millimeters.
Yes.
We've had the benefit of watching you heal over the course of a month, and it is notably different, better. Are you seeing that yourself?
Yeah, I am seeing.
And what does that do just for your own spirits?
I think it really lifts me up compared to where I was.
Yeah.
Because I just felt so helpless in the hospital. And being at home, I knew I was going to heal more here than I could at the hospital.
Stepping out of a police cruiser and into the Houston Police Academy. This is the day Zaid Garcia has dreamed of for years.
I want to give them the protection I didn't have,
Protection he needed as a young child living in Mexico when a horrible accident changed his life forever.
No one knows how, but a candle fell. And when the candle fell, the house caught on fire.
The burn survivor endured many surgeries and challenges.
It's been a hard path, but I healed.
Now determined.
I want to inspire people.
Aiming to be a protector as a police officer.
I told her, no, I think I can do it, And to be honest, I didn't even believe it myself.
Los Angeles social media influencer Isaiah Garza recently learned about Zaid's dream.
Hey, I'm Officer Garcia, you're under arrest.
Many of you just saw what I saw, which is these people's shared humanity. If you didn't, go back and watch them again. When you really just stop and get to know people, their scars don't matter as much. It's not like you don't see them. Of course you see it. But it ceases to seem monstrous. The shock isn't there anymore, and you can just have a conversation with the person that isn't about the scars. If you can't see past these people's scars to see human beings and children of God, something's not wrong with them, something is wrong with you. Moving on. So, all Frollo really has to do is put Quasimodo out front and center. Send him out into Paris. No, bring him out into Paris. And come alongside these people, elbow to elbow, shoulder to shoulder, hand to hand, face to face, and really lead by example and teach them how to love Quasimodo. But he doesn't do that. All he has to do is make sure that they can see Quasimodo on a regular basis and, show them how to love Quasimodo, but also punish the occasional outburst from some prejudiced person. And this problem would go away. It would just disappear. Again, Quasimodo isn't the problem. The prejudice is the problem. That's the solution that Frollo should have sought out here. We're going to get to naturism, okay? I gotta build up to it. We're getting there. The way that you get used to something is not to think about it for a long time. It's to experience it. The reason why your body changes when you exercise is because it's growing accustomed to the work. The reason why your body grows weak when you're a couch potato is because it's growing accustomed to your laziness. Your body grows accustomed to things. Your mind can grow accustomed to things. Someone in Paris might say, well, I'll see Quasimodo when I'm ready. No, you won't. That's like saying, once I'm strong, I'll start exercising. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to adapt. You're not going to change unless you're given a reason to change. Not a mental reason. A real reason right in front of your face or in your own body. Lifting weights, that's going to change your body. Or if someone, I'll go sailing for the first time once I'm used to sailing. Got it. Yeah, that's exactly how that works. You have to expose yourself to things in order to get used to them and get past the shock of it and to adjust to it. So I think the entire story really hinges around Claude Frollo and his failure to really guide the people of Paris and to love Quasimodo. The whole story is really Claude Frollo's just descent into madness. Now, there's multiple ways to take the story probably, but I tend to see it as Frollo's fall into madness. Kind of like King Saul in the Old Testament. Now, let's get into how this story, what this story can teach us about naturism. But first, Patreon time. You know that was coming. With the way this is set up, I'm probably going to have to superimpose the names over my face. This video is brought to you by my supporters over on Patreon. Everybody on Patreon, thank you for what you're doing. You're making videos like this possible. Now, if you'd like to support me financially for my work here on Mudwalkers, there's a link in the description down below and probably on the screen any minute now. You can go support me over there. All of the support levels get early access to my mainline content, videos like this one. I will post videos in advance and make them available to Patreon members. And then a while later, usually about a week later, if not a few days, but at least a day ahead of time, I will put the videos up. Now, in some emergency situations, I might not be able to get it up to the patrons early. Although what I've been doing recently is just if I get it up on the same day, it doesn't go live to YouTube until the patrons get access to it for a day or two beforehand. So there's that. On Patreon, you also get access to a bunch of other cool stuff like our Zoom call at certain levels of support. There's a brand new level of support now, if you're watching this in November 2025, called the Reader Tier. You guys might not all know that I'm a published novelist, but I publish under my real name, so that's not going to show up here on Mudwalkers for my wife's sake. She doesn't want my name on here just yet. But if you'd like samples of my writing, I have been writing naturist fiction recently, and you can get access to that on the Reader Tier over there on Patreon. I think that pretty much covers it. So let's get back into the main content. All right, Hunchback and modesty, or naturism, or whatever we want to talk about. The cathedral represents clothing. Now, this is not how the author or the playwright intended this, okay? I'm laying on new ways to use the symbols. This is not the original intent, I know that. The cathedral, in our framing here, represents clothing. Quasimodo represents the human body. Frollo represents American Christian leaders. And Esmeralda and Phoebus show us what our reaction should be to the human body. To embrace it as human, rather than seeing it as ugly, disgusting, or hate-worthy. So, Frollo hides Quasimodo away inside the cathedral. Our leaders are hiding the human body, the image of God, off inside of clothing. Quasimodo escapes the cathedral. And Esmeralda immediately sees that Quasimodo's harmless. So she's fine with him being seen. She sees his body for what it is and sees no issue with him being seen. So Esmeralda has no problem with Quasimodo being seen, so our reaction ought to be for the human body to be fine being seen. The crowd responds the way that their culture has trained them to respond. And that is, of course, to begin abusing Quasimodo. I.e. people start to lust after the body or make rude jokes, etc., etc. Claude Frollo, being the moral and spiritual leader here and possessed with great power, is completely capable of correcting the misunderstanding and prejudice here, and ignorance, and guiding the people rightly, but he doesn't. Frollo has the power to stop the abuse, and not just now, but in extending into the future. He can educate them, he can lead by example, he can bring Quasimodo out to them and teach them how to love him. Our leaders could be teaching us how to relate to the human body in a righteous manner, dealing with this problem head on. But they aren't. They are hiding Quasimodo away in the cathedral. Our leaders should be taking the charge here, but they're not doing it. Instead, it takes a Phoebus. It takes an Esmeralda. It takes regular people reaching up and being little people who do big things. That's how we're going to get change here. And I think that this play is an uncannily good symbol for this. Frollo is failing us. So we little people need to go and do big things, and we need to free Quasimodo. And I can tell you from experience that like we said with getting used to anything else, the way you get used to the sight of the human body, the way you get used to what humans look like, is not to hide humanity away in a cathedral or our bodies and clothing. If you want people to get used to the sight of Quasimodo, Quasimodo's going to have to walk around in Paris. If you want to get used to what the body is really like, you're going to have to allow yourself to see it. You're not going to get used to something that you don't see. If you want there to be an adjustment, you have to have an immediate stimulus for that adaptation, stimulus for your adjustment. That's how the human mind and how the human body work. You need stimulus to stimulate adaptation. If you hide Quasimodo away, your mind will remain as prejudiced and volatile as that crowd was, and reactive as that crowd was. But if you want the crowd, if you want your mind, if you want the crowd to treat Quasimodo gently, if you want your mind to be able to tolerate the sight of the human body, the crowd is going to have to see Quasimodo on a regular basis. You're going to have to get used to the sight of the human body through experience. Now the sight, not like touching people, but the sight of the human body, if you want to get used to the sight of it, you're going to have to see it to get used to it. Now, of course, this is all conscience. Romans chapter 14, there's no rule against it. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily the right thing for you. If you feel like you going and looking directly at a human body would be sin for you, then don't do it. Your conscience has to come first. Change your conscience, and then get around to this. But this is a goal that people should have, especially people who are struggling with some psychological and moral issues related to the body and sexuality. Hiding is a band-aid solution. It's not going to solve your problem. You need to go and face your problem. The way to face the problem of not being used to the body, of lusting after women and things, is not to hide Quasimodo, not to hide the female body off in a cathedral or in clothing or whatever. The solution is for Quasimodo to be seen, and for people to teach you how to properly relate to it. Well, again, to be clear, I don't think that this is what the novelist or the playwright or the Disney people had in mind. I don't think that they were advocating for nudism with this story. But again, it's an uncanny, accidental symbol that does wonders for representing naturism. The play has a riddle that it states at the beginning and the end. What makes a monster and what makes a man? It's just, it's beautiful. And it claims not to answer this riddle, but it does. Because the two people here, of course, are Frollo and Quasimodo. Frollo thinks that he is the man and that Quasimodo is the monster. But as the story unfolds and we see that Frollo's beauty is only skin deep. And that inside he's what Yeshua would have called, what Jesus would have called a whitewashed tomb. You look nice on the outside, but inside you are full of filthiness and rot and nastiness. Frollo was a deeply, deeply sick man. But inside, Quasimodo's pure of heart. Yes, Quasimodo's ugly, but he's a sweet, sweet, childlike person who is full of compassion and care and tenderness and sweetness. He's very, very gentle with Esmeralda. Quasimodo can snap iron chains at will. He's extremely strong, but he treats Esmeralda very gently. He's very sweet to her. Frollo's the opposite. He's physically much weaker than Quasimodo, but he treats Esmeralda quite forcefully, in the worst imaginable ways. Okay, that might be a bit of a hyperbole there. But clearly, despite the fact that people in the play call Quasimodo a monster, Quasimodo's not the monster of the riddle. What makes a monster and what makes a man? Quasimodo is the man. Frollo is the monster. I think that's the biggest lesson of the Hunchback of Notre Dame as a story, is that we really need to take the time to look deeper than people's skin. Because sometimes pretty people are ugly on the inside. And sometimes ugly people are beautiful on the inside. We really need to get to know people before we make, these big judgments about people. So that's pretty much it. Sound off in the comments. Am I crazy? Do the symbols work? Again, I know this is not how the book or the play or the movie was trying to convey things. Okay, I know that this story is not actually about nudism. But again, it's kind of uncanny that we're able to use the symbols this way and it kind of works. Yeah, so am I crazy? Am I seeing something that's not there? Do the symbols work? Do they not work? Is this useful? Is it just fanciful and fun? Like, you guys let me know in the comments below. Is this a useful thought? I've been chewing on it. I've been wanting to make this video for 2 or 3 months now. And now that I'm kind of winding down for the year, it felt like the right time to go ahead and bite it off. So thank you for being here. Awe ke'u no do'ai. Depending on what order I post these last few videos in, this might be the last one you see. So just in case, happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas. And if you are an adherent of the Gregorian calendar system, Happy New Year, come what you call January. My New Year won't be until the equinox, but I know everyone else will be celebrating the New Year's on January 1st, 2026, according to the Gregorian reckoning. So, yeah, see you next time.